All right, welcome to the Nevermind Adventure Podcast. Our first recording in probably 3 years. So we've managed to somehow get through the COVID experience and kick our world famous motorcycle tours off again. And we thought it's time to record a podcast. We've run 3 tours in 2023: Sri Lanka tour, Himalayan, and another Sri Lankan tour, and they've all gone off superbly. Everyone's loved it. They're all booking trips again for next year, and we seem to have got the delicate balance pretty right. So we're now Frankie's back on board. The Bob's with us, so we're a team of 3, and we're going to see how it goes in 2024 and 2025. So stay tuned. So I'd like to introduce Chris Lyons from Torquay. He's recently returned from a Sri Lankan motorcycle tour with us, 3 weeks ago, Chris?
Yeah, that's right, Matt. Yep. Thanks for having me.
That's a pleasure, Chris. So we thought Chris was a bit of a character. He loves a chat, and he's got some really funny stories. So we thought for our first episode, what a perfect guest to kick it off, because we're all a bit rusty. So bear with us, be patient. It might not be great, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll probably run for about an hour and see how we go. So I'll just run, the last 3 years, if those of you that know Nevermind from the past, we had a Royal Enfield dealership in Geelong, which we no longer have. We're purely running motorcycle tours, which is fantastic because we just focus on that now. They've got even better. We put a lot more into it. We're committed and excited about the future. So, Chris, tell us a bit about yourself. You live in Torquay, grew up in the area.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, grew up in Geelong. Spent most of my life growing up in Highton. Some good schools around there. Worked my way up or into Torquay, I guess you could say. Love it down there. Love the beaches. Love the wide open spaces. Love taking the dog down to the beach. Surfing, all those sort of lifestyle things that you've got living in a coastal town. So I 51 now. I've had a bit of life experience, done a lot of travelling myself, and I do own a Royal Enfield Classic 350, which I bought from Matt's dealership when he had that. I've done a couple of trips, as Matt said, just recently come back from Sri Lanka, and also did Rajasthan. So I wouldn't say I'm heavily into my biking, but those trips once in a while are a really good opportunity to get out there and reset and experience something bit different from the normal, Noosa holiday or a Bali holiday or something like that. So I'm married, got a couple of stepkids, 17 and 21. They're living at home, so keep me on my toes. I work in the new homes construction industry, which has had some good times, but at the moment it's pretty quiet, a bit challenging. So, it allows me to have a little bit more of a better work-life balance at the moment. So that's just a little bit about me. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about the Sri Lanka trip soon. It was awesome.
You just got me thinking. I didn't even introduce myself. So for those who don't know me, I'm Matt. I started Nevermind 10, 12 years ago. It's been an incredible journey. Most of you have probably done a tour with me or, come across me in my crazy emails I bombard you with all the time. I'm sure if you're interested in this sort of stuff, we'll cross paths at some time. So tell us about your experience with Nevermind, like your first tour and how you came across that and what made you pull the trigger to go to Rajasthan. And that was back in
2017, I think it was. Yeah. What's that, 5 years ago now? Yeah. Time just disappears, doesn't it? But I guess I just stumbled across Nevermind. I was curious. I know they at one point had that little shop in Torquay, which I walked in there one day, and to be honest, I was probably a little bit confused. It was a small shop. I didn't know what it all meant, what they were selling. They had a bike in there. They had some leather bags in there, some clothing, and I didn't even know that they did tours. And then not sure how much longer after that, but stumbled upon them again another time in Paco, where I used to go for breakfast at Raj's. In Paco. And
Paco, just for those that aren't Geelong people, is Packington Street. It's the, what would you call it, the Lyon Street of Geelong?
Yeah, maybe even Fitzroy or something like that. Yeah, it's very eclectic, but, some high-end shops and that there as well. So he had his, that would have been your second or third shop, wouldn't it? Because he had some WA, didn't you?
We started in WA back in the day, and we started in the Fremantle Market, had a shop there, and we had one at Hillary's Boat Harbour and one in the city. We had 3 shops, and then we combined it all, moved it to Geelong to be closer to family. So and that's where we had the pop-up in Torquay. Yep. And that was only temporary, and then we picked up the shop in Geelong. So
that one in Geelong, getting back to how I stumbled across or found out about Nevermind. Just walking along the street and had some time on my hands and saw the door was open on the corner, and stuck my head in the door, and there was some bikes, and Frankie was in there as well. And then there was a bit of a movie or a montage on the TV screen of Rajasthan, and sort of sparked my interest. Started talking to Frankie there, and she basically said that these tours get booked out like pretty well a year in advance. And we actually just had a vacancy. Someone pulled out, couldn't go from WA, and we're going in 3 weeks. Do you want to go? Being spontaneous as I am, went home that night. Probably didn't have to think about it too much. Got a leave pass off the missus. Created my own leave pass from work, basically. And I think within 24 hours, I either went back in or probably would have gone back in and said to Frankie, let's do this. And I was booked on the trip. Didn't know anyone, didn't know anything about it, didn't know any other riders. And within 3 weeks, had to get all my shots, my visas. Nevermind organised all the flights and everything back then. And, ended up in Rajasthan, and just I'd never had any intention or desire to go to India or any of those sort of places. I've always sort of done North America and Europe and Bali and New Zealand and stuff. But it was just an amazing trip, and met some awesome people and had the best time. It's like I said, it took me out of my comfort zone. It was
still
great.
In touch with any of the guys from that particular trip?
Yeah, well, actually, the Sri Lankan trip, Lloyd and Sue, much to my surprise, when we all met at the hotel in Sri Lanka. I bumped into them, so they were on the Rajasthan trip. And they were in touch still with Dean, who turned out to be one of the guys from WA who his mate pulled out, and therefore I was his roomie, his twin share for most of that time. So they'd kept in touch with him and filled me in. But
Lloyd and Sue are a great couple from down in Tassie.
Oh yeah, they're inspirational. They're amazing. Yeah, and just goes to show that you could be any age to do this. On the Sri Lanka trip we had a 23-year-old learner, never been out of Tom. He'd never been out of Australia before. I met him at the airport, and he was a bit nervous trying to go through customs there. And we had a 23-year-old learner that obviously hadn't had a lot of experience riding road bikes. He grew up sort of riding dirt bikes on the farm and whatnot. And then we also had obviously Lloyd and Sue and 73-year-old as well.
And everything in between.
Yeah.
It was a great mix. Yeah, that was
a good mix.
It was one of my up there with one of my favourite trips I've ever done. It was incredible. But we'll talk more about that later. Any sort of standouts from Rajasthan? I've been going back 5 years. What do you remember?
Rajasthan, you're just they're thrown into the deep end right from the start. The culture, like arriving in New Delhi there, and I wasn't even sure whether I was getting met at the airport or not. And then, I was just looking out for someone or something to help me, and then ended up at the hotel there and got to the hotel and then met my guide and wasn't even sure I was confirmed on the trip, on the booking. So it started off pretty rough and a bit loose. But after that, just the culture, just seeing how busy and crazy it is in New Delhi, and then the next day starting in Agra and getting our bikes and getting blessed and learning a little bit about the culture and getting our bikes, and then finally getting on these legendary things called the Bullets, the Royal Enfield Bullet 500s, getting your bike and then just doing through the villages, the people, the locals, everyone just loved you and seeing you and doing deserts and just off the beaten track riding and nearly hitting camels and dodging camels like in the Thar Desert, and just going to all the different temples and the places that you stayed. Like, it was just incredible trip.
Well, Rajasthan's a special one for us. We haven't actually got it on our hit list for the next 12 months or so, but after listening to you, I'm thinking Rajasthan's got to make a comeback at some point. And it was our first place we started operating. The very first tour we ran was in Rajasthan, and it was a big hit, and that's what kicked it all off. It was just such a magical place, And I started with getting the leather bags made there, and that all that connection led to like taking people over there, to ride bikes and to ride a Royal Enfield Bullet through Rajasthan is just it's like riding Route 66 on a Harley, it's a complete cultural experience. You're like a god.
You are like a god. I don't know how many gods they've got over there, but there's certainly a Royal Enfield rider or owner on a Bullet or a 350. It's you certainly stood out, and everyone that I speak to back here, like all the Indians community, and even going filling up my bike at the servo or riding it to work, and an Indian comes in, and they all have got a story about, I had one when I was a kid. And
so just for those who don't know, Chris, he came back from that trip and purchased a Royal Enfield.
I did
350. He's ridden over today.
I did.
He thought there was an engine problem. Chris rang me yesterday. He said, I'm in Birregurra and I think I've fucked my engine. Like, there's something wrong with it. I said, just nurse it back and I'll have a look at it for you tomorrow. And I took it for a ride down the street when he got here, and I could hear a clicking coming from the back wheel. And I thought, no, this is not an engine problem. I think there's something wrong with his chain and sprockets. And sure enough, a closer inspection, he's got no teeth on his rear sprocket.
Goes to show what I know about bikes and mechanics, and that's another thing for you. Like, you can go on these trips and you can know nothing about bikes. I knew nothing about a road bike. I'd never ridden a road bike in my life. Like, I grew up with a Yamaha DT 175 road trail, and that's what I learn on, and still got one stored out at my old man's farm out at Ceres. Actually, it's probably a project there, but grew up on those bikes, and never really was heavily into racing or whatever, but go down the Otways and bush bash around, and never had been on a road bike. And I think I did maybe one trial or test ride on the classic 350 before, like down the Great Ocean Road. Matt was offering those trips before Rajasthan, and I jumped on one then, and pretty easy to get used to. But it handles all the terrain, all the stuff in India. There was potholes, there was dirt, there was sand, there was all sorts of stuff. So that's my current and only ride at the moment, and I love it. Everyone thinks it looks pretty cool. I think
the chestnut,
the good old chestnut, which is like it's sort of like a red and tan seats, and so bought that off Matt at the shop, and other than the sprocket I'll have to get fixed, it's going good. Nearly got 10,000 Ks on it now, so
almost due for your second service, mate. So
I've only had it serviced once.
But that's what they're good for, Like, you can just leave them in the shed and you don't use it very often. It's not a $40,000 bike. You can justify it, as a little bit of an indulgence from time to time. So, and Sri Lanka. So that was like I said, that was just for me even an incredible experience.
It's one out of the box, wasn't it? Second time you went there.
I said to Anna and I were having a few drinks, my wife Anna, and watching a Nick Cave concert on YouTube actually, and I saw Nick, had him behind stage, and you'd see him like you could hear everyone cheering and that, and I said to Anna, I go, it's completely different, but I remember that first day at the Rockfort Hotel in Gaul, and I'd had a few beers the night before, and I was on the fourth floor, and I was walking down the stairs, and I could just hear you guys. You're all around the bikes, first day, everyone's laughing and getting to know each other, and just the excitement.
The energy.
I could feel the energy walking down.
Everyone's just amped and pumped just to get on that bike.
So fucking cool. I'm like, oh man, I've got to keep doing this.
It is a good energy. Like it was piss and rain for the first day and a half, 2 days, I reckon, and we'll probably speak a little bit more about that. But we're coming to the tail end of monsoon season, I think. But we started off the trip in absolutely pissing rain, and wet weather gear just had no effect whatsoever.
How much fun was it?
But then, you would never dare trying, contemplating going out in that weather back home. But over there, you're on a timeline and you're just going to do it, and you're adventurous, and you're like, what the fuck? Let's give it a go.
I find it's not cold, so getting wet's just...
It wasn't cold, but then after a couple of days, the skies cleared and the sun was out, and it was 29 degrees, and I don't think we had a tiny bit more rain, but clear and sunny and good weather the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
Except for, of course, had to be the last 15 minutes at the end of the trip coming into Colombo there. It wasn't heavy, but just when you had all your stuff dry and everything. And, Sri Lanka is an amazing place.
One thing I'll never forget on that trip was after we left Yala National Park, and we're riding, there's that road that cuts through the national park to get up to Alla.
Yep.
And we're cruising along, and I'm up front. And I see this big shape up in front of me, and I'm like, there's bush on either side. And as I get closer, I'm like, it's moving. It's got a trunk. And I'm like, there's a fucking elephant standing on the road.
Right in the middle of the road, wasn't it?
I'm not sure what to do here. There's a local who's pulled up on his little 100cc bike, and I said to him, I go, mate, what's the go here? I've got 10, 15 bikes behind me, and he goes... I go, you go, just go. And he goes, no, you go.
Yeah.
I go, I'm not going first. And he goes, let's just wait here. Little Sri Lankan bloke with his wife on the back. He goes, we'll wait for a bus to go past. And I go, all right.
Was it just the one, or there was a couple others coming out?
No, there was more further
I remember stopping and then taking your gear off and then trying to get your camera out to take a video and stuff like that. I got some cracking photos.
Some incredible shots.
But just seeing stuff like that, you're riding along, I reckon, for sure I thought you planted them there, Matt.
I felt like that. I looked up at the sky and I go, thank you, motorcycling gods.
Yeah,
this is perfect.
I thought he got some little Sri Lankan guy in the bushes, and he's got got the elephant on a lead or something like that, and he's like, time, let it go, and cross the road. So it's just stuff like that. There's just so many things that you wouldn't see normally, either driving or going to the one spot and stay in the hotel, or on a bus or anything like that. On a motorbike is the best way to see everything, because you can stop whenever you want. We had elephants, we had there was massive monitor lizards that were there, and they were quick, weren't they? They were like probably 1.5 meters to 2 meters long, these monitor lizards, usually on the side of the road. And then you got to dodge them. You got to decide whether you're going to... Well, the smart thing was to go for the tail and not their head. And then they just zip across the road. There was dogs, 6 million dogs or something over there. Monkeys. There was a tortoise at one point running across, or slowly moving across the highway. It's
funny. It's like the roads aren't busy though.
Roads were quiet.
There's no tourists there. We were... outside of the main spots Hiriketia and Gaul. Yeah. We didn't see any
roads were amazing. Roads were great, really good quality. We got lost multiple times. At one point we were going through just some farming villages and whatnot.
We
And
weren't lost, mate. We were just exploring new territory.
yeah, but the road was just like imagine a bicycle track that's just been asphalted along the Yarra or something like that. It's 1.5 meters wide, and this was just random road in the middle of these rice fields in a countryside.
Oh, that was on the first day, yeah?
Yeah,
that was incredible.
on the first day.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't ridden that section before, so that was really special to see that. So motorcycles have had a bit of an impact on your life. When did you start riding? What age?
I got a Yamaha YZ100 that I got with my brother when I reckon I would have been 15, and he's 2 years older than me. And we had to share it. And the only places we really had to ride them in Geelong were down at the Breakwater. There was a Breakwater motocross track.
Yeah.
And, we were never, we weren't part of the club or, we weren't into racing or anything like that. But you paid a membership and you got a key, and Dad used to take us down there on a trail, and we used to have to take it turns on this little Yamaha YZ100. So that's how I sort of started. And then... ended up buying my first bike. I couldn't wait to get my licence at 18. And in Victoria, here you can get your licence at 17 and 9 months. Not sure if that's still the case, but back then you could.
Now, yeah.
17 and 9 months. So 3 months I couldn't wait. And actually, that was a funny story how I got my first bike, because me and my dad, we used to play table tennis out in the garage. And I found this Yamaha DT175 that this bloke was selling on the trading post back then.
Yeah.
That's how you used to find deals in the paper and the trading post. And he had this thing for sale for about $1,000, and I had some money saved up, and I went and bought it, much to my dad's dismay. He wasn't happy at all, but he didn't know about it. But I said, had it in the garage, and I go, Dad, you want to come and have a game of table tennis? And he's like, yeah, all right. So I open up the garage door, and there's this bike there, and he's like, doesn't really swear much, but he was like, what the F's that? And I go, it's my new motorbike, don't you like it? He's like, no, it's not, you're taking it back like this. I said, no, I've already paid for it, Dad, out of my own money. Anyway, that was that. I remember riding it down to Vic Roads in South Geelong there, when that was probably the only way you could sort of get it down there. Riding it illegally down to Vic Roads, did my test in the car park, got my L's, and the rest is history, I guess. I've sort of always at some point had a bike, whether it was a road trail. That was sort of my thing.
Yeah, so
175, and then had a Kawasaki KLR 250 at one stage, and that got nicked out of my shed. And then after that, it sort of, I didn't really put me off, but I didn't have a bike for quite a few years until I bought the Enfield.
yeah, the bikes are a funny thing. I got a very similar story to you. Like, it's my brother and I the old man bought us a little MX-80 or something, GT80 or something like that, bucket of shit. But we learned to ride on that, and I just fell in love with bikes. Like, I'd wake up every morning, I'd dream about them all night, and then it's like they've always been there through my whole life. And I've never raced, I've never done anything professionally, but fast forward 20 years, and here I am. It's my my passion, my livelihood, is my job. It can take you places. It's a bit like surfing's the same. You surf as well, and it's like it's taken me all over the world chasing waves.
You got to have a passion. You got to have something that gets you up in the morning. You got to have a passion of your own. Even if you're married or got a girlfriend or whatever, you got to have something that's your own, and whether that's a sport or anything really. To be boring, like reading a book or something like that, doing podcasts, I don't know.
Yeah.
But surfing, I grew up in Geelong. You either played footy or you didn't. You played footy or cricket. So I was a footy head. So it was that, surfing, camping, all that sort of stuff. You got to have something that keeps you going. And, that sort of throughout your life that might drop in or out every now and then. You might be more passionate sometimes than the others, or you might trial something else.
Do you find that I've found that my passions there's a fine line between a passion and an obsession.
Yeah.
Like I will get into something like the home brewing. I've just taken you out to the little brewery out the back that I've got. And, it started out like making a beer in a bucket. And I'm like, and then in the bottle, I'm like, this is a loophole. This is fantastic. It's like, and it cost me like 40 cents to make a long neck bottle of beer. And I'm like, this is better than I could buy. Yeah. And next thing I've got a little brewery set up in the back and I'm like, my wife's like, this is more than a passion.
Sounds a little bit. I think it's a personality thing, Matt. I think that's where we're pretty similar. Where you enjoy something and it's a passion, and then you've got an idea, and then you're like, well, do I want to continue this passion? Can I maybe grow it into a business? Can I make something from it? And that enables you to sort of do what you love, and that's where a lot of business ideas come from, and that's where you hear people saying, well, they do something and they don't feel like they're working if it's their passion. And
I think I've had a few conversations this week with old customers that have been on tours that are looking to come back this year and next year and do a trip, and they're like, oh, are you going to get back into the the motorbike shop or the you should bring those leather bags back, they were cool. And I'm like, but it's not. I'm not super passionate about it. I can sell you a motorbike. Yeah. And I don't really get a kick out of it.
It's a possession, and you've been there and you've done that.
That's true.
Do you have to go back there?
No, but the bike tours is, like I said, that excitement, of just walking down the stairs that day at the Rock Fort, and then seeing you guys on the last day, and we're all just, a bunch of great mates. Just had a fantastic trip, and just everyone's made a bunch. Everyone stays in touch, and it's like really adding value to people's lives, I think, and that's important for me. Like it's you got to make a buck and you got to make a living out of it. But if you're not, anyone can do that. You might as well get a job if that's what it's about.
That's right. Yeah.
This is something else. I can create. You can see these maps and that all over my house, and it's like. It starts as a little idea in my head, and I put a map up, and then next thing I'm researching it, and then 6 months later there's 10, 15 of us riding around that country, where these pins are on.
You've curated something from scratch, and it's just grown and you're in control of how fast you want to grow it. You can grow it as fast or as slow as you want, as big or as small as you want, and that's what it is. Adventure and traveling. I guess it can be. People can do it however they want. Like some people just hang out for their once-a-year trip to Noosa or Bali, and we've all done that. And you save up for your flight, and you tell all your friends about going there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Bali sounds good. Escape the winter here," and we've just done it. But most of the time, you just do the same shit, and you sit around the pool, and you get cheaper drinks, and you buy some imitation t-shirts and slides, and you come back and you talk about it for. A few weeks, but this.
Have you ever been on a cruise?
I've never been on a cruise. Nah, never been on a cruise, and I don't think I've ever really. I haven't really got the desire to do that. I think if you got a whole bunch of mates that you're sort of celebrating a 50th or a wedding or something, and you got kids or not got kids, and you want to do a cruise or you're a bit older or whatever, then go and try one. But
I don't get it, but it's like each to their own, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, another thing we've got in common, we've both been on Shark Tank.
Yes.
Which is hilarious.
I was Dragon's Den, actually. I was the New Inventors in Dragon's Den, but it's they're both shows where you have an invention and you try to pitch your idea to...
Is yours still up on YouTube?
It is, yeah.
What would we have to look at? I haven't seen it.
Google Chris Lyons hot suits, heated wetsuits. I am the inventor of the world's first heated wetsuit.
There you go.
Over 15 years ago. My claim to fame was I was actually on the National 9 News with Peter Hitchner, who this week has just announced that he's going to be no longer doing the news. I was on the National 9 News with my invention, the heated wetsuit, down in Torquay, the day that Saddam Hussein was caught in his little rabbit hole.
There you go.
So on the little snippet going to the ad, they had Saddam Hussein leading into Chris Lyons, inventor of the heated wetsuit. So, that was 15 years ago. in a former life, had a few former lives, and funny enough, I'm currently working on bringing that back to life at the moment, working on new technologies to bring back the one and only world's heater wetsuit.
Yeah, we've had some discussions over the past few weeks about that, and I really hope you have a crack at that, and I think one of the things I said to you, like, well, not sure about, I'm like, well, give it a go, and in 2 years' time it doesn't take off, doesn't work. Worst case scenario, you can always go back and get your shit job back, and I'm the same. I'm like, well, never mind, let's give it a red hot crack. If it's something that people don't want in their lives, well, I'll go back to construction. It's always there. There's always something else. There's always that to fall back on. So
that's right. Yeah, you got to take risks in life. I mean, it's a bit like the old saying is you got to spend money to make money, and you got to take risks to live a little. I reckon.
Absolutely. On that, I've sort of got some notes here. I was like, well, what advice do you have for anyone out there listening that's sort of looking at the bike tours and thinking, I'm not sure about this, or, sitting on the fence?
Yeah, okay. Well, probably do a little bit of research, but just get in touch with Matt or one of the team from Nevermind, because you won't be disappointed. Again, there's plenty of other operators there. You can go and do your Great Ocean Road rides. You can do your Tassie rides. You can do a self-ride drive sort of thing. But what that lacks and what that isn't going to give you is the experience and, the mateship and the adventure that you can create with a group of like-minded people.
Yeah.
So
that's the incredible thing that, I don't sort of engineer that into it, that social side of it.
That just comes organically.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Like, it is everyone gets such a kick out of that. Like, we do, all our rooms are twin share, right? So, when you book a trip, you'll be sharing with someone else, not the same bed, unless you can push the beds together, which is the joke, joke we have on the trip, because, there is a few bromances along the way. People get along well, and, it's like they buddy up, and it's great to see. But one of the things, when we're in the Himalayas, Andrew he's from Melbourne, he came along and he was twin share, and I said to him at the end of the trip, like, should we do all our rooms? At the start he was like, it'd be good to have my own single room and that. By the end of the trip, he'd shared with a guy called Hamish, and they just become great mates, and he goes, I'm going to change my stance on that. He goes, twin share, and it did push me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, it would.
But he goes, we'd sit up at the end of the day, and we'd be chit-chatting, and he goes, it was really added to the experience, and it's like, we'll give people the option.
Yeah,
you
that's
pay
right.
it extra and get their own room. But even now, I find I'm a bit of a light sleeper, so I will take my own room from time to time. But I shared with Daniel Arlo. He's another Geelong bloke, and it was great. And another guy, Rod Pinder, and I remember Rod's a bit like us. He's a bit entrepreneurial, and we sat up to like 3 o'clock in the morning just bouncing ideas off each other in the Himalayas one night. We should do that. We should do this. It was a great night, and I wouldn't give that up for anything, it's
Rajasthan. I twin shared obviously because I didn't know there was an option. I was just filling in a spot, and we got along. Dean, we got along fine. He's an English bloke, and I guess you got the first day or two of the trip is obviously everyone's getting to know each other and feeling each other out and working out, what they got in common and what they don't. And, all the normal questions, what do you do for work? Where do you live? All that sort of thing. But after once you get on your bikes, it then quickly turns to just other random shit that just happens throughout the day and organically throughout the night and over a few beers and things like that.
I think that's one of the things that works well on a motorbike tour is that, you're in each other's faces at night and that, so it's fun. You have a few beers, you're socialising. But in the day, you're not getting on a bus, so you're not on top of each other all the time. You've got your own space all day.
You have.
And it's like when you see something incredible like those elephants, we'll pull up the road, have a cup of tea and a bit of a rest and a stretch, and we're all just high-fiving each other. You've got someone to share the experience with. And I said that to Bob, tour leader Bob. I go, this is like, I was thinking I could come and do this ride on my own, but It'd be boring without all these cunts here.
Yeah, just you and your missus or you on your own.
It'd still be fun, but like to add that dynamic of all these different personalities.
No one's gonna believe, like, trying to explain half that shit that went on in Sri Lanka and Rajasthan for that matter to your missus when you come home, to your workmates and things like that, and show them photos. You just can't. And so it's the people that you're over there sharing it with.
That's what we have, selling this to people and trying to get people over the line. It's so difficult to explain all of the entire experience. It's like, we can show you photos, we can show you videos, I can talk you through it, but I can't give you that feeling that you get when you're there with everyone else. It's a real buzz. It's like nothing else. It's incredible. So Rajasthan and Sri Lanka, what's your favourite? If you could only do one again.
Different times in my life, like I keep saying, I've had a few different past lives, I reckon. Rajasthan was just sort of like I'd do it again, but I wouldn't, if you know what I mean. Only because I don't like going back and doing the same things. I'd happily go back there, and I'd love to show the missus, India at some point. But it would be a totally different trip, like you said. But Rajasthan, first time on Enfields, where they're basically, a maid and you're a god over there, to get thrown into that culture, that environment, riding around through villages, and you see kids running from a kilometre away, like to run and just give you a high five. All the 500-year-old palaces we stayed at and things like that were probably in their heyday, like just prime hotels, but now they are run down and gritty, and we're the only ones staying there and stuff like that. Rajasthan was awesome. Sri Lanka, I reckon, is just a bit of Sri Lanka is it's hard to describe, because like India, for me, it was a place where I'd never intended on going, but I definitely think it's a hidden gem and not everyone knows about it. There's no tourists. They're crying out for tourists, but that's to our advantage at the moment. There's no tourists. Very friendly. The island or the country is, I don't know, probably the size of Tassie. Same size as Tassie. And I reckon we did probably, 3/4 of it in 2 weeks. And we saw heaps of it. We saw enough. We saw national parks, beaches.
Maria,
Lyon Rock, all those sort of things. Sri Lanka,
really does
for me, that ticked so many boxes, and that was a hidden gem. It's something that, you just sort of reflect back on it and go, how good was that? Like, who would have ever thought of
what trip
Sri Lanka
were you booked on originally? Because Chris booked a trip that got cancelled during COVID.
Yeah. I was booked on the Vietnam trip, and that was going to be my first trip with my missus as a pillion. And in a way, I guess she's not much of a rider, or she doesn't ride, and not much of a pillion either. Hope she's not listening to this, but probably sort of prefers going and getting her nails done and her hair done and those sort of things. What sort of floats her boat, and I try to bring her along for the ride. And Vietnam was going to be that, because it sounded pretty cool, like houseboat on the river and doing a few other sites and a few other things. And neither of us have been to Vietnam, so we're booked on that. And I'd still love to go at some point and do a tour there, but in a way it was sort of, I guess, out of my control, but a little bit of a blessing in disguise. And then Matt, to his credit, hadn't really heard from him for a few years over COVID there, and it sort of went AWOL, and then just reared his head up again out of nowhere, and is resurrected, a bit like Jesus Christ, and he's resurrected himself and resurrected the business, and then started getting some notifications on Facebook and whatnot again about him doing the Himalaya one and the Vietnam one. And, look, I guess I need to touch on this point a little bit, because, Matt, I find is a man of his word, and he's obviously there's a bit of shit that went down with his old business and stuff like that, but done the hard yards and rebuilt himself and rebuilt the business to a point where it could sort of go anywhere. And credit my hats off to him for having the balls to do that again. And then he went and was doing a trip to the Himalayas, which I would love to do that one as well on a road trail at some point on the Himalaya bikes, which I classify as a road trail. Would love to do that. And then he goes, "Oh, look, I'll probably because I had a bit of money there sitting there, or whether it was owed to me or whatnot, which I've pretty well written off because, I won't go into too much, but receivers and those sort of people sort of didn't look too friendly on us, and I had a bit of money sitting there. So,
Assholes.
And then Matt's just basically said, look, mate, I'm trying to help people out. I want to do the right thing. If there's an opportunity to sort of help you out there, I want to try to honour some of the debt that I might owe some people. So we started talking about Vietnam, and I'm like, oh, shit, just mention it to the missus, and she's like, oh, February, she's a teacher, start of the year, she can't go. Love her to death. She's like, oh, you can go. You got a leave pass, you can go on your own. And I'm like, awesome. So I thought I had it booked. Matt was in the Himalayas. I'm getting all excited. I'm like, oh, here's my first and only chance to maybe get some of this money, this debt that I've written off back, and go do this trip that I always wanted to do, Vietnam, without the missus though. And luckily I didn't book the flights, but Matt was in Himalayas and I was about to book it, and the dates happened to clash with my stepdaughter's 21st, which is coming up then. Hadn't quite organised it, but I couldn't go. I couldn't get the leave pass, and I tried everything. It was not going down too well. I'm saying shit like, I'm not even your real dad. Come on, can't you move the weekend? It's what's it matter? You haven't even booked a 21st venue yet or anything like that. And I was getting nowhere, and I just thought, I was on a high, and then I was on the low again. I thought, I'm fucked here now. So anyway, lo and behold, I was just about to send an email to Matt saying I can't go, I've double booked, and I think I must have did that, and he was in the Himalayas, and he just basically said, again, a bit like Rajasthan, someone's pulled out, I got a spot, I got a bike for you if you want to come. And like Rajasthan, like I said, I had no desire or intention to go to Sri Lanka whatsoever. And I'm just really glad that I did, and I'm really glad that Matt come to the party and enabled me to be able to do that. And now here we are sitting talking about the experience.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's interesting to listen to, from your end, and like obviously I've seen it from a different perspective, and like just the journey from 2020, like we had that big shop in Paco Street, big showroom, motorbike shop,
bikes,
everything. And
service.
I was working around the clock like a dickhead, like it was.
Yeah.
I was burnt out, and also all the travel and everything, and there was a lot of it was a big.
It was like
job.
3 businesses in one, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was shop, it was selling bikes, it was servicing, it was bags and gear.
We probably lost a bit of the magic, when that time come around. For me, it had, and I was, like I said, I was burnt out, and then COVID hit, and I was like, "Fuck, what am I going to do here?" And I'm not going to go into the details, but I lost it all. It was taken away from me. It was like, righto, come. Christmas 2020, I was on the street, it was like me and my wife had separated. I'd lost my business. It was like, fuck, what am I going to do now? I didn't have a job. I haven't had a job in like 12 years, It was like, and I didn't realise how much of my identity had been tied up with that business, and how much it consumed my life. And
how much had been
for
taken
about
away.
A month, I didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't find, didn't know whether I should get a job or should kick it off again, or I had no money, nothing, no car, all our cars got repossessed, everything was horrible. But in hindsight, it was an invaluable lesson. Like, my old man said to me at one point, why don't you go out fruit picking? They've got no backpackers, they've got no one to pick the fruit. And I went, fuck, all right, So
what do you got to lose?
So I went and I was living in a tent on the Murray River.
Is that the tent that's out there?
No, I was living in a tent on the Murray River picking oranges in bloody 40-degree heat.
Like if you can't even get the backpackers to do it, and here you are up there on your...
Oh, it was a shit job. But I think that solitude was, I think I didn't realise at the time I was probably suffering mental health issues. I probably had a bit of depression, a bit of anxiety, and just lost. And
understandable, mate, when you go through all that sort of stuff all at once.
That hard work of just getting up in the morning and you just climbing up these 14-foot ladders all day, just carrying big bags of oranges. And after about a month, I started feeling really good and really positive again. All that sunshine and fresh air, time on my own. I was
all the vitamin C.
Yeah, and from there, it's like I got a call to go back to construction. It was like, so I got a good job in Geelong for a couple of years, and it was like it's not something I really am passionate about, but it got me back on my feet and it allowed me to save some money to be able to run your tours and a lot of other people's that missed out during COVID. And this year I've been able to step away from it and give Nevermind a crack full time. So it's only been a month since I finished work in August, so a couple of months, and now we're pushing to fill up enough tours in 2024 and 25 so we can continue doing it full time. And like Frankie's back now, and Bob's always been there, and our clients are returning in droves. So it's overwhelming. I had to put up with there's a bit of hate out there, a bit of anger. People were frustrated, didn't understand what happened. But I think as time goes on, people are starting to ease a bit and and be a bit more understanding. So certainly aren't copping any heat at the moment, which is good. You got
to be commended for giving it a crack, mate. And that's all you can do in life, really. Pick yourself up and just keep going. Yeah, that's what I say to anyone out there like going through that. Just day by day, just get out of bed and just keep going. Just don't stop. Like once that time where I had about a month where I was out of Nevermind and I went fruit picking. That was not a nice time, It was just I couldn't work it out, But it's like as soon as I got back into it, it was all go. So anyway, enough of that. Everyone's got a story, haven't they? But that's a great story, mate. And I think you've come through the other side really well, and it's onwards and upwards from here. Yeah. So get on board, everyone. Book a tour. You'll do yourself a favour. Book a tour.
If you can,
help Matt out. He's helped me out, and he's helped a few other people out in similar situations in regards to helping them out, trying to look after them with trips that they had booked and stuff like that. So I think what goes around comes around, and it's time to help Matt out and help yourself. Just book a tour, and you won't regret it.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to other stuff. So we'll go a bit general now. What's your favourite book?
Mate, I reckon I've read as many books as many podcasts as I've done. I would probably be an autobiography guy, if anything, maybe one book a year.
Oh, who's your role model? If you could, think of someone like that.
Role model, yeah. I don't really have one, to be honest. I'm a sports fan, so I always get I'm a Geelong sort of tragic. So I've got all the Selwood books and all the footy, all the footballers that have Gary Ablett and all that sort of stuff. So
let's get Selwood on a motorbike trip one day. He's retired now.
Yeah,
that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. So books. I'll tell you. Yeah, what's that one? There's a couple of books, drug related ones like Snowing in Bali. But that one,
I haven't read it.
The one with Chappelle Corby as well. Yeah, and all the surfer cocaine druggies, and Shantaram.
Oh, that's a good book. Yeah,
that was a really good one. My missus reads every night, and that's her way of I guess relaxing and getting her relaxed and ready for sleep, I just turn on the TV, and that's what I watch that for an hour or so.
Any good recommendations for Netflix show or anything like that?
I like the crime ones, so I like some of the series. I've just been watching this one about Jens, a German guy, and his English girlfriend that killed her parents. I've been watching that. I can't remember what it's called. I love my Deadliest Catch. That's pretty out there, where these crab fishermen in Alaska, and that is just gnarly, like the job that they do. Deadliest Catch, and the Gold Hunter ones, Gold Rush.
I'll check it out. I've been looking for something.
I like watching those
Sunday nights where you're a bit, a bit slow and you want to veg out on the couch. It's that's good to know. All right, so dream riding destination.
Dream riding one.
You're looking around at all my maps, right?
I reckon now, just from the sounds of it and all the Nevermind posts I've been getting recently.
Frankie's gone mad, hasn't she? It's unreal.
She's doing a great job, Frankie. The social media, Facebook marketing and things like that.
You're so good at it.
Yeah, you're really good at what you do. I might need a social media person at some point for my business, but I reckon I would love to do Patagonia, and so Chile and Argentina.
Oh, it's such a good trip.
That would be one of the things on my bucket list. I'd love to fill a seat and do it in March 2024, but can't really justify Bali, Sri Lanka, and then a third international trip within 6 months.
Yeah.
But that would probably be on my bucket list at the moment, Patagonia.
Yep.
For a ride. And here's another random out there bucket list thing that I would love to do is I've got a jet ski, and I want to do, there's a jet ski tour. It's basically a motorbike tour on a jet ski from Canada up to Alaska, up the Inside Passage it's called. Sounds a bit sort of rude, up the Inside Passage on a jet ski, but again, about 14 days where you're in a group of, 10, 14 people, and you've got a guide, guides, and you've got fuel support and maintenance, mechanics and stuff. That there's a company in Alaska that does that. I'd love to do something like that one day.
That would be incredible. All right, just to close it out, I know you've got a lot of wild stories, Chris. Can you share one with us?
Wild story. How long we got, Matt?
We've got as long as you want, mate.
I've got getting held at knife point on my last day in Amsterdam, high on mushrooms and ecstasy. I've got getting locked up in a Mexican prison when I was.
Heard that one. Let's go with that one.
The Mexican prison. And I've got a bike ride across Canada, 3,000k bike ride, where me and a mate probably only did about 1,500 k's or less, and we hitchhiked most of the rest of the way with our mountain bikes. But yeah, so I can do the Mexican prison one. I was backpacking through North America and the States, to be exact, probably when I was 20, young 20-ish. And found myself in a backpackers in San Diego called Banana Bungalow. And that was about $15 a night for a bed back down then. And San Diego is probably an hour from Tijuana, which is the border, and where Mexico is. So they were running backpackers drinking trips, get a minibus down there and back. And so that was the plan, and I think there probably would have been about 20 of us on this minibus, and we head down to Mexico. Anyone that's into their tequila, the genuine tequila normally has a worm inside there, and the worm, if you get the worm and you bite into it and you eat it, it's a bit of a hallucinogenic.
Yeah, right.
And somehow I found a bottle that had 2 worms in there instead of 1. So I not only drank this, but also we're doing tequila shots in Mexico. And before we got off the bus, I remember the guide or the leader or whoever it was driving the bus, I remember him saying, 2 things you don't want to do when you're in Mexico, and that is get caught being drunk in public or pissing in public. And guess what I end up doing? I end up doing both. And it was a bit of a blur, but I got locked up in a Mexican prison, and it was a bit like in the movies where you see the guy in the corner passed out with his sombrero, asleep in the corner. And here I am, this Aussie kid from San Diego for a night that was staying at the Banana Bungalow and locked up in a Mexican prison. I was drunk as a skunk. Had my passport confiscated or taken off me, obviously, by the prison officer when I got given a cell. I had to share the cell with this Mexican guy with a sombrero. It takes a bit for me to cry, and I was actually in tears and I was sobbing and I was pleading to this the prison officer chief, whoever he is. To the point where I must have just wore him down, and he's just like, in the end, fuck it, you can go. And I've just like, right, here's my opportunity. I hightailed it out of there, and then I realised he'd stolen my passport and didn't give it back. Bastard. These passports, I was told later, are probably worth 10,000 US on the black market. So it was a bit of a stitch up. And then I had to try to find my way back from Mexico into the States across the Mexican border with no passport, right? It gets even more interesting from here. I'm still drunk. Hadn't even got my hangover yet. I'm still drunk. I'm making my way down. It was just basically down a hill to where the Mexican border was. And I'm walking down there, and I walk inside the quarantine or the border facility. It's like a building, and you see everyone lined up, and there's the Mexicans that are trying to pass over the documents, and then there's the gringos that are showing their passports. And I'm like, oh, fuck. How am I going to wing this? There's no way I'm going to be able to talk my way out of this, but I haven't got a habit of being able to talk shit and talk my way out of it and convince people. Anyway, I was about 10th in line. I'm getting closer and closer. For some reason, I had this weird feeling. I put my hand in my pocket and I found some weed in my pocket.
Oh, no.
I cannot remember buying it. I don't know whether it was planted on me in prison or what the go was. Had about like a couple of grams of weed in my hand. I thought, fuck, is there... This was back before CCTV days and all that sort of stuff. I've reached under the seat and I've like basically sort of tried to squeeze it under the seat like chewing gum to get rid of it. And that was just like another moment. I was going, oh, fuck it. How am I going to explain that one? Anyway... That had gone, and then it was my turn for basically getting checked and questioned before they let me back into the States. I don't know how I did it, but they must have basically checking one person and then not checking the next person's passport. It was almost like that, and the gods just must have been on my side that day, where the guys just basically asked me a few questions. Where are you from? Australia. Where are you going? Back to San Diego. What you been doing here? Didn't tell him I got locked up or eating bloody worms from tequila bottles or whatnot. So anyway, I got through. Here I am, step foot on the other side of in the United States of America, and then next problem: how the fuck do I get back to San Diego, an hour away? I've got no money, no ID, no mobile phones, nothing like that. There must have been a public bus or something. I've talked my way onto this coach, told the guy the story, and he must have, felt pity on me. Get back to the Banana Bungalow hostel, and it was probably about 2:00 in the afternoon by this time. And I just walk in the door, and everyone just started cheering, going, "Hey, here's Chris, where have you been, mate? You got locked up in Mexico." And I could not believe it. So I survived that. And then the next drama was trying to get a passport again, and a temporary passport. I had to ring up my dad, reverse charge, back in Geelong. And he went to, remember it was Stuart MacArthur, who was the Liberal politician. He went to his office and he told him half the story that I told him. I had my passport stolen and I needed another one to get back to Australia. So that was organised. And Dad, if you're listening, that was the other half of the story. I've only probably told you half of it up until now. But yeah, that was one of them.
Love it. Love those stories. It's alcohol can get us into a lot of trouble.
Alcohol and drugs.
Yeah. Say no, kids.
can create plenty of stories, but can also create plenty of problems.
I wonder about that, because someone who's, I've done, years where I haven't had a beer, and now I'm back in my home brewing. I enjoy a drink every now and again, probably more often than I should. But like you said, there's the quote going around, no great story ever started with, let's have a cup of tea.
You got to live, and you got to get loose once in a while. Yeah. Traveling. I've said to the stepkids, traveling opens your mind, expands your mind in ways that drugs and other things can't.
I heard, there's a bloke, Terence McKenna, he's passed away now, but he was a big advocate for psychedelic drugs back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And he said something very similar. He said, look, he goes, the only thing I can say that comes even close to like taking mushrooms or psychedelics to giving someone that type of experience is travel. He goes, when you're in a foreign environment, foreign people on your own, he goes, it just alters your whole perception of reality. And I agree with that. I think, even for myself, I travel a lot. And when I'm at my best when I'm in a foreign country and, experiencing that, it just brings out the best in people, I think, generally.
Yeah, you're in the moment, you're in the moment, you don't know what's going to be next. So to have that and not have worries about what was and what's going to be in the moment and to wake up, not knowing what you're going to be doing that day is just, it's a good feeling.
So, Chris, thank you. We're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for that. That story is brilliant. I think the podcast's gone really well. Love to hear you guys' feedback. We'll do a few more and see how it goes. For us, for the future, it's we've got early next year, we've got Vietnam running, we've got Sri Lanka, still taking bookings for Sri Lanka, Patagonia in March, and we've got a few spots there at the moment. Then Ireland, our first trip to Ireland in May, which is going to be incredible.
That's for all the drinkers.
Yeah, that's, oh man, I had no idea, I've been researching the hell out of that place and I can't wait for it. And then beyond that, we're just about to probably open up the rest of the year and the following year. So we'll look at, I think we have to do another Himalayan trip in July, August, and then I'd love to do another Rajasthan trip later in the year, and definitely be doing Sri Lanka again. So
100%. No one else is doing it. So milk it while you can.
Yeah.
Support the locals over there and experience something that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. So it's check it out. Get in touch with us. We don't have shops anymore, so it's all by email. If you're not on our email list, jump on www.nevermindadventuretours.com.au. Or you can email us at info@nevermindadventuretours.com.au. So get in touch, give us some feedback. If you've got some ideas for a podcast or a tour, or you just want to say g'day, get in touch. So thanks for listening, and thank you, Chris. And
thanks, guys. Thanks, Matt.
We'll get you back on at some point. So
good on you, mate. All the best.
Have a good weekend, mate.